Eli lived in silence for years after Susan's death. Once a warm man full of jokes and joy, he had become a ghost in his own home. Every room held echoes of her laughter, and every memory played like a fragile melody. He believed he had lost his soulmate, the woman who loved him more than anything. Grief clung to him like a second skin. He stopped going out, stopped smiling, stopped living. Susan's absence became the center of his shattered world. 10 years had passed since her funeral, but the wound never closed. He would often wander the house late at night, retracing their life together in his mind. Friends came and went, offering comfort, but Eli remained trapped in mourning. To him, Susan was goodness incarnate, soft-spoken, nurturing, the kind of woman who remembered everyone's birthdays and kissed his forehead before sleep. He wore his grief like a badge of love, never suspecting it was built on a lie. One warm afternoon, Eli finally decided to clean the attic, a task he'd avoided for years. Dust danced in the sunlight. As he opened old boxes, among photo albums and forgotten trinkets, he found a shoebox sealed with yellowed tape. Inside, a letter lay on top, addressed to him in Susan's handwriting. The date stunned him. It was written on the day of his accident, the one that had nearly taken his life. His hands trembled as he opened it. The letter was short, cold, unlike Susan. "Eli," it began, "I can't do this anymore. I'm leaving. I've been seeing someone else for months." That was it, no apology. No explanation, no sorrow. "By the time you read this, I'll be gone." Eli stared at the words, disoriented. He read it again. His heart didn't break, it paused. The woman he had mourned, the love he had cherished, had already left him long before death ever did. For a long moment, Eli couldn't breathe. It felt like losing her all over again, but this time it wasn't tragic. It was bitter. That night, he sat alone with the letter in one hand and a glass of whiskey in the other. His memories began to shift, the subtle moments of distance, the tired excuses, the blankness in her eyes. It all made sense now. The story he told himself of a perfect love lost too soon crumbled under the weight of truth. At first there was rage. Years wasted grieving someone who had betrayed him. He had sacrificed his joy, his friendships, his laughter, believing he was honoring her memory. But now he saw the lie Susan had already made her decision. She wasn't stolen by fate. She left him in spirit before her body followed. Slowly, Eli realized he hadn't been mourning her. He had been mourning the illusion of her. And illusions don't deserve eternal tears. Over the next few weeks, something inside Eli changed. The house didn't feel haunted anymore. Her pictures didn't sting. Her scent, long faded from her favorite scarf, no longer brought him to tears. He didn't burn the letter. He kept it, not as a wound, but as a reminder that he had survived both her death and her betrayal. And if he could survive both, he could live again, not in memory of her, but in honor of himself. Eli started gardening again. He took long walks, greeting neighbors he hadn't spoken to in years. He laughed at the absurdity of life, the cruelty of time, and the strange freedom that truth sometimes brings. One morning, he looked in the mirror and saw a man returning to himself. He wasn't the broken widower anymore. He was Eli, free, wiser, and no longer chained to a false past. The pain had turned into strength, and strength led him forward. One afternoon, a neighbor invited him to a community dinner. He almost said no. Old habits die hard. But something told him to go. He sat at the long table, surrounded by laughter, food and new beginnings. For the first time in years, he didn't feel alone. He shared stories, even cracked a few jokes. Susan didn't cross his mind, not with pain, not with longing. Her chapter had closed. His story was finally his again. As the stars blinked above his porch that night, Eli sat in peace. The letter had broken him, but it had also freed him. He had cried enough for someone who never planned to stay. Now he had a second chance, not to relive the past, but to reclaim his future. Why should he feel pain for her anymore? She made her choice, and now, finally, he had made his. He chose life, he chose freedom, and most importantly, he chose himself.